After you've logged into the Voice Apps platform, you'll arrive at the project's dashboard. You'll notice at the bottom is a collection of sample projects, and at the top, that is where you'll see a collection of all of the different skills you've built, of course, after you've built them. Voice Apps has made it easy to build Alexa skills, and one of the fastest ways to learn is by building a skill using one of the many and ever-growing collection of sample projects. Let's take a look at some of those samples now. You might be asking yourself, where do I start? What kind of skill do I make? And maybe you already know what kind of skill you want to make. Maybe you want to make a joke skill. Well, there's a template for that. Maybe you want to make a quote of the day skill or just a simple game skill. The description will give you a hint as to what are some of the things that you'll use or do in order to create it. For example, the beer trivia game. It says that this sample demonstrates how to use slots, state, variables, get random, audio, and some more features. Taking a look at Cat Facts, it says that you can learn how to create a simple fact using your own facts in a custom fact skill. In Rock, Paper, Scissors, obviously a kid's game, well, you'll learn the basics of conversation with Voice Apps. Taking a look at some of these other things, for example, Chuck Norris jokes, well, you're going to use an API function to get data, okay? And then, of course, there's the motivational quote of the day, shows how you'll use the lookup function and built-in variables. By reading the description, you'll get a hint at what you'll learn, but you can dig even deeper. So let's just imagine that you want to create a fact type of skill, and we can actually use this template, but let's dig in to see what's required. What is it going to take to make a fact skill? So if we click on it, that skill will open up in the visual editor. And looking in the visual editor, we can see it only required one intent in order to make that. And by clicking on that intent, you can come over here to the intent configuration panel, and then you can see what it took in order to create this. Now, there's separate videos that explain each and every tab. In this tab, this is just the information used when publishing the skill. And if we look at the data, we can see that there's random data here or random cat facts right here. And if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we can see that there's a variable named fact right here. Let's go over to the responses. This is what Alexa would say. Here's your cat fact. Now, Alexa wouldn't actually say, here's your cat fact. This is obviously a variable right here. And you'll create that variable. Very easy to do. And so Alexa will say, here's your cat fact, and because of this tiny bit of code, knows to go back to the data tab, and then it will collect one of these actual facts and read it out. And then what would be the next thing after Alexa says that? Well, the next action is to end it. Now that you've kind of reversed engineered to see how it was created, you can actually play around with it to see how does it work. You can click on the test button, and then you can come right here to the Start Skills button if you click on it, and let's listen.
Here's your cat fact. Some cats have survived falls of over 65 feet, 20 meters, due largely to their riding reflex. The eyes and balance organs in the inner ear tell it where it is in space so the cat can land on its feet. Even cats without a tail have this ability.
And then it ends on its own. So as you can see, it opened up the skill and did exactly what would happen if it were live. Let's take a look at some others. So now that we've learned how to reverse engineer a sample project, and we saw that cat fact only took one intent, well, what would it take to create a full-featured trivia game? If we click on that, then we can see, wow, there's quite a few more intents required for this. However, you can take a look and click on this intent and see what it does. Click on this intent, see what it does. Click on the intent, and you guessed it, see what it does. And you can reverse engineer this particular skill, and you can build one similar. Let's go back and look at a couple others. If we look here, if we scroll down, let's take a look at motivational quote of the day. If we take a look, it was only one intent to make it, but what else was required? Well, this is the publishing information. Here's the data. And in the data, we can see that it uses lookup value, and it says day of the year. And if we scroll, wow. If we scroll and scroll, we can see that there's 364 different look up values, and there's this over here, which is the information it would give, and it's going to use a variable which is called today's quote. So if I come to the response, what would Alexa say? Well, if we click on it, we can see, I'll open this up. Alexa would say, here is your inspirational quote of the day. And then there's the variable. It would know to go over here, pick a quote, but it's going to look up and see what day we are. For example, today's day is June 26. Okay, so it will look up June 26 and quote that quote for the day because this was created for 365 days. Here's the next action. It would end. So to help you maybe understand that just a bit, if we go back to the data tab, we can see all these different variables here, okay? So let's imagine today is June 26, and Wikipedia says that June 26 is the 177th day of the year, or 178th day in leap years. Okay, we open this up. Alexa says today is June 26. It is the 177th or 78th day of the year. If I scroll, let's go down. And here's the 178, here's the 177. So we can take a look. It's going to play one of those two. Let's test it to see what happens. I'll click the test button. I'll come down here and start the skill. So let's listen up.
Here is your inspirational quote of the day. Eventually, the nerds and the geeks will have their day. Judd Apatow. Check back tomorrow for a new quote. Have a great day.
Now, if we were to play this again, it would play the exact same quote because it's still June 26. And so we understand that this particular skill looked up the day of the year, equated it to the 178th day, then chose this variable and played that particular one. So as you can see, the possibilities on what you can do when creating skills is limited only by your imagination. So as you can see, you can take a look at all of these things and get an idea of what to do. And we just looked at motivational quote of the day that says it uses the lookup function and some built-in variables. And the best thing to do is to begin creating some of these simple ones and then go to some that are maybe a little bit more complex to learn how to use all of these features. And in our next video, we're going to quickly and easily create a skill, brand new skill, simply by using a sample project.